Welcome back to the Forward Together podcast. We're glad to have you join us this morning. I'm your host, Pastor Robert Meredith, and this is my co-host, Mr. Jamie Moles.
What's up, everybody?
So, Jamie, let's talk about our weekends. I did something this past weekend that I probably have not done in over 10 years.
Didn't watch NASCAR.
Well, I didn't watch NASCAR.
Oh, it's not on yet.
But it's something that I did. Yeah, it's not time to talk about NASCAR yet. Actually, this has to do sort of with NASCAR.
Okay.
So, what I did this weekend was I bought a video game.
Wow.
I bought a video game.
Pac-Man? That's your generation?
No, I said it had to do with NASCAR, so it was a racing game.
Oh.
So I got a couple of gift cards for my birthday, and so I was scanning online and just kind of flipping through to see what do I want to buy, and I found a video game for the Nintendo Switch on clearance. It was like a 2022 NASCAR game, and so my kids have a Nintendo Switch. I was like, I'm going to buy this. And when it came in, Rob, of course, thought it was his. I was like, no, that's my birthday present. So we had fun yesterday playing that. Yeah, it's the first time in a while I've been up playing a video game past late.
And you mentioned that's recorded, but that's good. Glad you had a good time.
But you know what? It's okay. I played like one or two races and turned it off.
Nice, okay. We're glad you're not addicted yet.
Yeah. So what'd you do this weekend?
Little as possible. It's been a crazy busy couple weeks. So Saturday, actually I had a TV go out. So I went and bought a TV. But I bought a big one for downstairs, and so I moved the medium-sized one to the living room, and then the one that was in the living room moved to the bedroom.
Okay.
So it was a day of switching TVs, and yesterday, church, and then it was a cool rainy day, and did absolutely zero. I needed that personal recharge after a pretty brutal couple weeks with work and travel.
Yeah, very good. Well, let's let the records show that he just admitted there are 3 TVs for 2 people.
Oh, that's just the 3 I moved yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I got 2 more.
Okay. So let the record show there are 5 TVs for 2 people.
Yes.
We have 5 people in our house for 2 TVs.
Well, if you want to go screens, so I have, on my desk setup, I have 2 dual monitor setups. So I got 4 screens there, and then Stacy in her office has a widescreen monitor.
Wow.
So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 screens.
10 screens. Well, tell us about Little Rock. So you and I both ended up in Little Rock this past week, which is a coincidence. My kids thought it was so cool you recorded your video from Little Rock earlier in the week, and they were like, we have to do the same thing.
Yeah, so different circumstances. You were there for personal, I was there for work, but it wasn't all bad. So we flew in, had a team builder with one of our partners there, so went to Little Rock Topgolf and played Topgolf on Thursday night just to celebrate them and all the hard work they had done with us and our partnership and what they do for my company. And then next day we had a business meeting for several hours, talk about planning out 2025 because we only have a few more weeks of 2024, and then flew home. So I think we both had quick trips. Mine was, I didn't think I was there 24 hours. Like I flew in I wasn't there 24 hours. I flew in at 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon and flew back out at 1 o'clock the next day. Okay.
And you went Roanoke to Atlanta?
No, I fly Americans, so mine's Roanoke to Charlotte to Little Rock.
Okay. You mentioned Topgolf. I love some Topgolf. That's fun.
Yes.
We need one around here. I'm not a golfer, but Topgolf is a lot of fun. I love the...
We need to drive to Charlotte or Richmond. It's the closest ones around here.
So I'm saying somebody needs to put one here in this part of the state.
Yeah, dude. Let's just get in the Sequoia and go once it warms up a little bit.
It would be good.
Yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah. Leave us a comment if you think we should go to Topgolf.
We'll record it.
We could do an episode from Charlotte.
Yes, we could.
And while we're there, we could go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame together.
I've seen it.
And I could teach you some history.
Awesome.
Possibly. Okay.
All right. How was your Little Rock trip?
Little Rock trip. So we flew out Thursday morning. This was for my brother-in-law's wedding. Really happy for Kelly. Got married Friday night in a beautiful venue. So we drove to Greensboro early Thursday morning, flew out to Greensboro to Atlanta to Little Rock. Got that hour of Central Time ahead.
Yep.
And so it made for a tired evening Thursday after the jet lag of that. And
you don't get to count jet lag for an hour, but I get it.
Well, we got up at 3 to get to Greensboro to fly out. So
trust me, I understand.
It was a drowsy evening. So, but Friday then we drove when we landed in Little Rock, we drove an hour and a half to Clarksville, Arkansas. So we were kind of in northwest Arkansas.
All right. Any close to Bentonville? Did you see signs for Bentonville?
I don't think so.
Great mountain biking.
But we did see, we were in the Ozarks. It was a beautiful venue where they got married Friday evening. It was some great pictures, the way the weather was. It was just a beautiful
it cold?
place.
I didn't think about that because I saw outside pictures. Was it cool?
We did a few outside pictures. They did the main pictures inside the venue. It was a large, like, I don't want to call it a barn. It was a wedding venue. It was had the rustic
like a
look.
barn dominium.
Kind of. It had a rustic look to it, a big high ceiling and a wide area where you could do ceremony, reception, dance floor, all that right there.
Was it heated? Like you guys?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. It was heated.
Oh, it was fancy barn.
It was probably in the 50s. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. So, so that was it was great. And then we all went out to dinner after the wedding and flew back home on Saturday. So yeah, congratulations to Kelly and Whitney. We have a new member of our family. And,
nice.
And Whitney's daughter, Finley. So we had 2 new members of our family. So
awesome,
we're excited about that.
Marriage is good.
Yep. Very good. So speaking of weddings, Jamie, tell us, what is the craziest or coolest or funniest story from a wedding that you've been a part of? Because I know there can be some crazy things happen at weddings.
So I've been in a lot of weddings. I grew up in a big church at a time period when big weddings were in vogue, right?
Yeah.
Like all the ladies who got married at our church, I mean, like I felt like it was a race to see if you could have the whole church in your wedding. Like like I remember being like 15, 16, they'd have like 6 people on the side. And then I can remember by the time like I was 18, like we were up to like 10 people. I think I was in one wedding that had like 12 or 14. Like these are massive, massive weddings. But the coolest wedding, I was young when this happened. But our church, there was, her name was Lisa Frazier, I believe. And if somebody watches this and I'm 100% wrong, I'm getting old. But she was the lead singer, and man, I was young. But if I recall correctly, so our old building had that balcony.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm not mistaken, like during her ceremony, the lead singers were in the balcony, and like for one of the songs, like they started singing, and like yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like, yeah, like that was their thing. Like they were part of the wedding, but they were like kidding. And all of a sudden, you see like this sound coming, and it's just one of those things that stuck with me because I've been in double-digit weddings, and it was one of the cooler things. And again, I was like, I might have been 10 or 11. I know Lisa was older than me, so. But I do remember that, unless I dreamed it, which I don't know why I would have. Yeah. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you spoke of the size of weddings and how it's changed. So the wedding we were just a part of was very small, so they had no attendance. They had so there was literally 25 people made this trip for this wedding, and 5 of those were Meredith's. So my family alone was 1/5 of the wedding, the whole wedding. So you had our side of the family, I think, was 17, and then you had, and maybe counting the bride and groom and her daughter on our side, but then you had her family, the pastor and his wife, and that was it. That was the only people in attendance.
So in my opinion, it's the way it should be. So big props to my oldest daughter who is married, got married in the backyard. And Jules, I don't actually think you watch this, but if you do, remember that. Cheap backyard weddings. Like it.
Yep. Well, I mean, everybody has their own.
You got 2 daughters. You better go for the backyard thing.
Well, see here, Casey and I did a bit. We had a pretty big wedding, so we had multiple attendants on both sides and a large crowd and it was in the new church, because we got married in Casey's home church. We were actually the first wedding in her new home church, her home church's new building. They opened it that summer of 2005, and like they hadn't put like her uncle built some stairs so that when she walked down the middle aisle, she could go right up the stairs and be on the stage. Like the way that it was kind of, the building was finished, but it was kind of not completely finished. So he put those in, but we had a large wedding there. We had quite a few attendants.
That was before inflation, though. That's like a 6-figure wedding nowadays.
Yeah,
and you got 2 daughters.
I do.
Yeah, better start saving.
Saving weddings and college both.
We need you guys to subscribe to the podcast because he needs to pay for 2 weddings in the future. So we need to get this thing monetized.
Like and subscribe. So one of the cool things about this wedding was when we were sitting there and the groom walks in and the piano music's playing, it sounded like it had Star Wars. I know this sounds crazy, but it sounded like a Star Wars theme. And I looked, Rob made eye contact with me and his eyes got big. I said, that's Star Wars. And so, yeah, we asked him later, he said, yeah, Whitney found it, and it was like a wedding march for the groom that had a little bit of it wasn't like, it was kind of masked. It wasn't like obvious, but you could kind of tell it had a little Star Wars tones to it. It was cool.
No, I think it is cool, but I think we need to figure out if it was like the dark side or the
Jedi side?
Yeah. It's the dark side, that may be a bad omen.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. So to get to this wedding, I had to fly at an airport, and Mr. Moles here flies almost weekly for his work. So Jamie, tell us a funny story from an airport, because I'm sure in all of your years of working for T-Mobile and the company you work for now, you've probably flown thousands of miles, well, probably thousands of hours, and have seen some crazy things in airports.
Yeah, so not quite weekly, but I think I got about 75,000 miles flying this year. So
okay.
And I have seen crazy stuff. The worst was, and this has been several years ago, but I was flying, this is when I lived in Corpus Christi, Texas, and I was flying from Dallas to Corpus. And with the way the flights worked, the meetings, I always took the last flight out, which was, I think it was 9:50, 10 o'clock. And that flight got delayed. There was always weather in Dallas. That flight got delayed a lot. And so a lady, I guess, probably went to a bar that was there right beside her gate. And so I don't know what time she got there, but I know what time she left because the cops took her away. A little bit too much to drink, and it was, it was before it was cool to record stuff of everything. So, I mean, people had camera phones back then, but yeah, she got drug away. I mean, it was like something you'd see on TV, and she's like, "Don't you know who I am?" And as they put her in the cuffs and took her away. Wow. So yeah, I felt bad for her.
Yeah.
I mean, bad choices. You never know what somebody's going through, or maybe they took some medication to sleep on a plane, but yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. You could see some interesting people in airports and interesting things. I tell you, it was
people watching. It's one of the most interesting things to me in the airport is, especially this time of year, is people watching, because you can kind of figure out where people are coming from or possibly where they're going by the way they're dressed. So like right now it's cold. Like, I flew from Roanoke to Little Rock, and I was in Little Rock and Dallas the last 2 weeks. But the cold front's been across the country. So you see the majority of people are like in parkas and jackets, but occasionally you see somebody walking through with like a Hawaiian shirt and shorts, and you're like, well, I either know they just came from someplace tropical, or they're going to someplace tropical, or I guess they just are hot-natured. But yeah, it's kind of funny this time of year. And then in the summer, you'll see the opposite. Most people wearing shorts and T-shirts, and then you'll see somebody coming through like they're going to the Arctic. So I always find that interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool because of living in a small town and flying out of small airports. I sit in airports a lot for connections, so it's a good way to pass the time.
Lots of people watching.
Yeah, lots of people.
So we had we had some interesting experiences this weekend. So a couple of different times we had people comment on our family. They're like, "Oh, you have a beautiful family," and they would say, "Come on!" Like the stewardess were real nice and friendly, and like, "Come on, family, come back here and sit." And this one particular lady, she saw Casey and Lainey sitting like together or near, and she's like, "Y'all got to be sisters." That's what she said. "Y'all got to be sisters." Like, no. Casey's like, "No, I'm her mom." And then we were in Atlanta at a restaurant in the airport in Atlanta, and they sat beside each other, and I was on the other side of the booth, and we were kind of around this round table, and the waitress, she said, "Y'all got to be twin sisters." And then they weren't just sisters, they were twin sisters.
Nice.
And it was like, and Casey's like, "No, I'm her mama." I was like, "Yeah, this is all my children right here at the table." So I mean, that's a compliment for Casey, of course, but
it's a great compliment for Casey.
Kind of funny.
It's good for Lainey, but I'm not sure where it puts you.
Well, we'll let the audience decide. I won't say. I think I'm blessed. That's where it puts me. I'm blessed with a beautiful family. So. All right, did you watch any sports this weekend?
I didn't, but I kept up with it. Made sure I was watching.
Because your Cowboys won.
Yeah, Cowboys won last night, so got a recap early this morning, and obviously Saturday. There was the Army-Navy game, which is always cool just because of what it represents. But the Heisman was given out this Saturday. A little disappointed. I think Travis Hunter is a great player. Man, I'm so torn because it was the Gentry kid, I think is his last name, the running back.
Yeah, from Boise.
I believe he was probably more deserving of the Heisman.
I think so. I agree.
I've never really wanted to see a tie because I think what Travis Hunter did is kind of unprecedented to be that good on both sides. But I don't think he was the best on either side. Gentry was, he's maybe one of the top 4 or 5 seasons of a running back in college football history.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully he gets the award for. I assume he gets the award. There's 1,000 college football awards, so I assume he'll get the award for best running back. The most disappointing thing is Hunter got the award for the best receiver in college football. That he's not even close to the best receiver. He's actually. I think this will make sense. He's more worthy of the Heisman than the trophy to be the best receiver. Because you could argue that what he did is kind of unprecedented to be that good, but he was neither the best on either side. So, like everything else in life, Heisman's turned into a little bit more of a popularity contest, I guess. Can't argue with him being the Heisman. Some of the other stuff he got, I would say, is maybe a bigger disservice to other people.
Yeah, well, and the Gentry, isn't there something to be said? I mean, the Gentry kid got his team into the playoffs, and I thought that was part of the deal. Like, if your Heisman finalists are usually the teams that are winning, and Colorado's getting a bowl game, but they're not a playoff team. So I don't know if that factored in at all, obviously, in the decision. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the only thing about that is, so in my opinion, neither one of them played the top tier of college football. I mean, even though the stats weren't Heisman-esque and, they were crazy, you could argue the quarterback from Oregon had led the best team all year, only undefeated team left standing, and he's the quarterback. But then do you want to make the Heisman a quarterback trophy? So
exactly.
It was tough. It was the closest Heisman vote since 2009, I think they said.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it wasn't a runaway. I mean, you could tell that people who were voting, I think, were going through the same kind of discussion we're having now.
2009 may have been Mark Ingram for Alabama. May have been the first Alabama player to win, because that was the year they beat Texas in the national title. I'm thinking that was Mark Ingram. So
I can't remember what I said yesterday, so 2009.
But Ashton Gentry was... I watched the one game, I know, and saw a post-game interview with him. And kids say things in post-game interviews. You got to take it for what it is. But to me, it seemed like he had a good, solid Christian background. Just the way the way he spoke to the camera, the way he spoke to the person interviewing him, and the way he gave God glory for his accomplishments on the field. I thought he impressed me, and I'll say that. So leading that into the next thing we want to talk about, the college football playoff. Boise's one of the teams. So, Jamie, I want you to tell me 2 things. Who's your pick to win the whole thing, and who's your sleeper team that we need to keep an eye on?
All right, so I had to pull up the bracket here just so I could kind of see everybody to make sure that I wouldn't see. So I think Ohio State's going to beat Tennessee, and then that leads to an Oregon-Ohio State game. And I think whoever wins that game is going to win the football playoff. And I do not like them. I have a hard time saying it. I think Ohio State's had a lot of bad luck, and I think that Ryan Day is a good coach. And I hope I am wrong, but I'm going to pick Ohio State.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go with Oregon.
Oregon barely beat Ohio State at Oregon. And I believe that at that round, you know what? Maybe it's not a neutral field. I would need to do a little research. So this is what I'm going to say. If it's at Oregon, then I think Oregon wins. If it's a neutral field, I think Ohio State wins. And the winner of that game wins the whole thing.
Okay.
And if I had a sleeper, man, I really think there's only 3 teams that can win. To call Georgia a sleeper, people watching this would be like, well, they're ranked number 2, I believe. But so I think the 3 teams that can win are Ohio State, Oregon, and Georgia.
Okay.
I don't know that Georgia's a sleeper. That would be my 3.
Okay.
I think
we'll
everybody
tune
else
in a couple
there.
weeks to see how accurate we were with our picks. But I'm going to go with Georgia as my pick. If Georgia's quarterback can not turn the ball over, I think they have a chance to beat anybody. I've seen them play. I've seen them get dominated, and I've seen them dominate teams.
Is he even going to play? Remember, he hurt his shoulder.
Oh yeah, he in the Georgia Tech game, didn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. Or was it in the SEC title game?
SEC title game. It was the last game they played.
That's right.
Oh, if he doesn't play, then
That changes things a little bit.
Yeah. As soon as you talked about the quarterback, I was like, I don't even know if he's going to be ready.
See, we're not sports reporters. We don't always have all the facts. We just have opinions, right?
Yeah, well, those guys, that's all they have.
So Boise State, that's my sleeper. It's Boise State. Boise State. So the Army-Navy game, we'll move on. The Army-Navy game, I love that game every year. Of course, I was watching it in the airport in Atlanta when we got on our flight. For whatever reason, it was still like 8 or 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and there were it was on a CBS, but the CBS that Delta had on the thing that we could watch was a basketball game, and I couldn't figure out why. But Casey was looking at it, she said, I think it's blacked out, and I can't understand why it'd be blacked out in Atlanta. But anyway, I didn't get to watch the end of the game. Navy won. Congratulations to Navy. I am always go Army, beat Navy, and I'm sure you probably are too. Or if you even pick a side. You may not pick a side. But
my dad was Army, so I guess I would go Army. But
so for family, my uncle was Army, and I'm always an Army guy. And you know what they say? Nobody ever played Navy as a child. You always said, let's go play Army.
I didn't say go play either, so.
You know.
Like as a kid, like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go play Army. Like you play Cops and Robbers, or you play Cowboys and Indians. You play Army.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, no, I never said go play Navy.
Nobody ever said, let's go play Navy.
That's a good point. That's because they don't have Navy men. They just have the Green Army men.
Yep. President Trump was there. It's a big deal, and I appreciate that. And I thought it was cool the uniforms they wore gave homage to a great World War II battle that was coming up on the 80th anniversary of. The Army had the white on their shoulder, top of their jerseys.
The Screaming Eagles. My dad was in that unit in Airborne, so yeah, I saw that when I did turn on the game for a little bit. Thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was. And see, it was a battle in the snow, so they had like the snow look to their jerseys.
I didn't.
It was really cool.
No, I didn't hear the.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw the patch. I knew my dad was part of that unit for a little bit. So
yeah, so
Screaming Eagles.
So if you're watching us and you've served our country, we'll take a minute today and thank you for your service, and let you know we appreciate that. Appreciate you fighting for our freedom. All right, let's wrap this show up with the 62 days till the Daytona 500, and Jamie has the word of the week.
Dude, give me a second so I can get my scripture up here. So today's word of the week comes from 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. So I just want to tell you that I know the holiday season can be a joyous time for many, but it can actually be a really tough time for some folks. So just remember to give thanks. God has a plan for your life, and even though you may not see it now, He will reward you for that, and your time is coming. So just give thanks to Christ for all things. He's got you.
Amen. All right.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. If you haven't, we said it earlier, but like and subscribe, and have a good